At 8,848 meters above sea level, the atmosphere is stretched so thin that oxygen levels drop by nearly 70%. Up here in the death zone, taking a single step requires colossal effort. Just standing still feels like drowning. Early expeditions approached Mount Everest like a military campaign. Scaling the peak required sheer force, utilizing massive logistical armies of Sherpas and climbers to haul 8 tons of gear up the frozen slopes. Of all that cargo, one piece of equipment was non-negotiable. Bottled supplemental oxygen was the single critical lifeline keeping climbers conscious, warm, and alive. For decades, reaching the highest point on Earth required establishing a complex chain of supplies, camps, and artificial air. Reaching the summit was a triumph of industrial engineering and life support systems. That reliance on technology frustrated an Italian mountaineer named Reinhold Messner. He practiced fair means climbing, a philosophy that rejected siege tactics and fixed ropes in favor of a climber's own skill and judgment. On May 8, 1978, Messner and Peter Habeler shocked the global mountaineering community. They reached the summit of Mount Everest without carrying a single cylinder of supplemental oxygen. The medical consensus of the era predicted certain disaster. Doctors warned that exposing the brain to the death zone unassisted would cause severe neurological damage or immediate death. Surviving that climb proved the doctors wrong, but it left Messner with a lingering question. He had climbed without oxygen, but he still had a partner and the safety of a larger team. To find his absolute limit, he needed to return and strip away every remaining safety variable. Messner transformed mountaineering into a scientific experiment, testing the absolute capacity of his own heart and lungs against the vacuum of the high Himalayas. In August of 1980, Messner returned to the Tibetan side of Everest. He chose to climb during the monsoon season, when heavy snows leave the mountain completely deserted. He carried only 60 kilograms of equipment. He was completely alone. Without a partner to break trail, no one to share the burden, and zero possibility of a rescue. Total isolation became a nightmare almost immediately. During his dark, early morning approach, the snow gave way. Messner plummeted into a deep, hidden crevasse, plunging down into the jagged ice without a safety rope to catch him. Sitting in the freezing darkness on a fragile snow bridge, he made a bargain. He resolved that if he managed to claw his way out of the ice, he would pack up his camp and go home. He did escape, but back on the glacier, the obsession with his solo fantasy took hold. It overrode his survival instinct, forcing his boots to turn back toward the summit. Irrational obsession becomes the only mechanism left to prevent a climber from surrendering. His progress depended on internal biology. This graphic shows how the human body reacts to increasing altitude, as the drop in oxygen partial pressure begins starving the brain and muscles. Messner spent 7 weeks living above 5,000 meters to prepare. This time allowed his red blood cell counts to multiply, triggering a physiological shift that allowed his blood to carry scarce oxygen more efficiently. This adaptation gave him the capacity to tackle the Norton Couloir. This steep, technical gorge allowed him to bypass the northeast ridge. But preparation has limits. On the final slopes, his pace slowed to a crawl. He panted desperately for air as the freezing atmosphere filled his lungs, causing sharp, radiating pain in his chest. Acclimatization can delay the effects of extreme hypoxia, but it cannot stop the breakdown of the human machine once it enters a total vacuum. On August 20th, Messner reached the summit. Physically depleted, he simply fell into the snow and drifted off to sleep. A sudden threat forced him awake. Monsoon clouds rolled in from the south and swallowed the peak, reducing visibility to zero. His only path down was his own misstained footprints. If the falling snow obscured those tracks, he would lose his orientation and freeze. Messner spent the next hours half running and half sliding down the mountain. It was a frantic race to outrun the whiteout. At the point of physiological collapse, higher-level judgment vanishes, leaving only raw, primal instinct to navigate the way down. 3 days after setting out, he stumbled back into his base camp. He returned with a yellowed face and cracked lips, his gait as clumsy and uncoordinated as a stumbling drunk. Modern Everest ascents are often defined by heavy infrastructure. Fixed ropes and ladders now pave the way for commercial clients who rely on a system of support Messner refused to use. By stripping away the team, discarding the radios and the oxygen, Messner ran a final, absolute test on human endurance. His survival demonstrated that biological thresholds are not absolute. By systematically preparing for the impossible, he redefined the exact point where a human being must stop.